Hi guys, in this video we will learn about software development life cycle, that is in short form SDLC. Any computer science student or professional may face this question: what is SDLC? It's nothing but software development life cycle. So it describes the development of software product, how the software product is developed. So that we are going to learning in this video. So before going to SDLC, we'll see some fundamentals relevant to this SDLC. What is software? What is engineering? How this software and engineering words are used in software development lifecycle. We'll see. So the first one is, what is software? Software is a collection of programs. Software is collection of programs that when executed provided desired features, function and performance. So what do you mean software? Collection of programs. How many programs? Maybe two programs or three or four and so on, n programs. So whenever you define a set of programs, then only we can say it is a software. Pictorially, we'll see what is software. So the software consists of several programs. The first program, second program, and so on, n programs. So what is software? Collection of programs. So what we will do with this collection of programs? Collection of programs that when executed provided desired features, function and performance. So nothing but whenever the user is accessing any software application, the user is having some expectation from the software application. So that is in terms of the various features that are provided through the software application, and the various functionalities are provided through this software application, and performance. So what do you mean performance? Whenever you run this software application by giving some set of inputs, how much time it is taking to transform the user inputs into the user expected output. How much time it is taking is what called performance. So what we are doing, we are trying to executing set of programs collectively. Collectively, we are executing set of programs, not a single program, set of programs. So maybe one program is connected with second program and so on, n programs. So sometimes the user is interested execution of some of the programs, not all the programs that are part of software, some of the programs. So whenever we execute this set of programs collectively, if it provides the user interested features, function and performance, then we can say it is a software collection of programs that when executed provided desired features, function and performance. Is what called a software. Example for the software. So I hope you are having experience with this ATM, automated teller machine. which consists of several functionalities or features. So generally we'll go to the ATM machine to withdraw. That is the primary purpose. Withdraw the amount. The first program. The secondary purpose, that is to check the balance. The second program. Today we can deposit the amount into our account through ATM. Third program. Similarly, you can pay your bills like telephone, postpaid mobile phone, water bill, so many bill payments. So like this way, we have several functionalities ATM. So we can execute any two of them. Two of them. Whenever you go to the ATM machine, we can execute any two of them. So that is nothing but collectively we are trying to executing some set of programs. Some set of programs. So what happens here whenever I perform the operation withdrawal or balance inquiry or deposit, whatever the interested operation, we'll see. So if you perform withdrawal, what happens? It debits the amount from your account and updates your account. For example, in your account, you have 5,000 rupees. You withdraw 1,000 rupees. So whenever you enter 1,000 rupees, it checks first whether sufficient funds are there in the account or not. If sufficient funds are there, it dispenses the cash and then updates the account withdraw. So whenever the entered amount is sufficient, then successfully debited from the account and updates the account. That is the operation is performed. Similarly, balance inquiry. It generates the receipt. Of course, today we are going to green world. So they are not generating the receipts. So displaying the message on the ATM screen to save the word and then deposit. So comes to the deposit function. Whenever you deposit successfully, depositing the amount into the account and gets updates. Successful deposit and updates. So like this way, the various operations or functionalities you can perform. So due to lack of space, I mentioned here some of the functionalities only. So like this way, I hope you are experienced with this ADM machines. So this is what called exactly a software collection of programs that when executed provided desired features, function and performance. So that is producing the appropriate expected end results. Now we'll see what is engineering. So generally this SDLC is appears in software engineering in academia. It's a part of software engineering. So now you know the word about software. Now we'll see what is engineering. So here I am having this application. So what is this application? I hope you can guess it. It's a mobile application free charge. So how can you identify it is a free charge? Because its user interface is displayed in color orange. The mobile payment application displayed in orange in color. So we can guess it is a free charge. Similarly, the other payment application, of course, it is displaying its brand MobiKwik. The application is MobiKwik. Of course, the other one, Paytm. So here if you see, Freecharge is using the orange color, MobiKwik is using dark blue, Paytm is using the blue color. Similarly, PhonePe. So if you see, the user interface appears in purple color. So here a user wants to transfer funds to his father or her father friend. So today we are having different payment applications rather than banking applications. So if you select the banking application, what happens? It takes some time to process the fund transfer. So worst case today it is taking 30 to 60 minutes time. But if you use these applications, instantly you can transfer the funds. Of course, in your financial application you are having IMPS service, so which may charge something, some convenience charges, service charges. But if you use these payment applications, so it's a free of cost. So here to transfer funds, I am having these many applications. I can use Freecharge, MobiKwik, Paytm, PhonePe, of course, in coming days, WhatsApp, Facebook. They announced. So why these many applications? Why can't we satisfy with the existing application, one application? Why these many applications? So as we discussed in software, collection of programs that when executed provided features. If you see, some unique features are provided by Freecharge, some other unique features are provided by MobiKwik, some other unique features are provided by Paytm. Similarly, in PhonePe, like the various payment applications. So what is happening here? These applications are trying to attracting the end users by providing the user interested services. How could I provide those services? If you see, this interface is different, this interface is different, this interface is different, this interface is different. So that is nothing but creating new things. Creating new things. How could I create a new thing rather than the existing one? Because we never satisfy with the existing one. So we always expects, the human beings always expects newness. How could I provide this newness? So human being never satisfied. So comes to software, it is almost possible because the greatest advantage of software is flexibility. As per your own interest, you can convert flexibility. So that is the greatest advantage of software. If you see, in coming days you can find any many number of payment applications which provides vast number of services. So we'll see theoretically what do you mean engineering exactly. What is software engineering? The application of a systematic, disciplined, and quantifiable approach to the development, operation, and maintenance of software. That is the application of engineering to software. So, what it says, the application of systematic. So, we know that software is a collection of programs. how could I arrange all these programs? You need to arrange all these programs in a systematic fashion. You need to organize all the programs because one program depends on another program. So nothing but one service depends on another service. You need to identify all these internal dependencies and connecting all the programs in a systematic way, disciplined way, and producing a quantifiable and quantitative results. Quantifiable and quantitative results to the development, operation, and maintenance. Development is nothing but implementation. Implementation of all the programs or services that you are interested to provide through the software application. Operation, performing the actions, and maintenance. Whenever you want to add new things, the existing one has to support maintenance. This is what called software engineering, the application of systematic, disciplined, and quantifiable approach to the development of operation and maintenance of software. So that's what we have seen in the previous slide. The various applications all are arranged. If you see, these are the services provided by the Recharge. These are the services provided by the MobiKwik. These are the services or functionalities provided by the Paytm. These are the services. So I hope you are very much experienced these functionalities. So in every new version or release, they are trying to adding new functionalities. It's what maintenance, software engineering. Now, how to develop these software applications? It may be either small scale project or medium scale project or large scale project. Three types of software developments and the various kinds of software applications. Today, if you see in our daily life, we are almost engaging with software products like business software, artificial intelligence software, system software, embedded software. So our daily life is completely composed with software applications. We'll see how to develop the software applications. So we have actually the various software process models to develop. Depends on the type of the software application. So the basic one, the fundamental model is what called waterfall model. So we also call it as linear model or classic life cycle model or SDLC, software development life cycle. So what it contains? So the various steps. The major steps are analysis, design, code, and test. We'll see in depth in coming slides. What do you mean analysis? What is design? What is code? And what is test? So these are the major steps of waterfall model or linear model. So when should I use this waterfall model? In what context? While developing the software application, when should I prefer waterfall model? What kind of applications are implemented or using waterfall model? Whenever you want to deliver the final system, if you want to produce the final system, you can use waterfall model. And whenever you understand the user requirements completely, when you have command on requirements, then you can use the waterfall model to develop the software application. Waterfall model. And the second kind of process models are iterative models. So the name itself is saying that iterative or iterative. So that is, it is taking the base from the waterfall model. The same steps are performed for number of times. So nothing but these steps are repeated and produces incremental qualities, incremental releases. In each release, we try to add some new functionalities as quality is changing. So the methodology of this iterative process models is repetition of same analysis, design, code, test. A stands for analysis, D stands for design, C stands for coding, T stands for test. In linear fashion, repetition of the same waterfall model steps. In each iteration will produce a quality. So the models, the process models comes under this category. Iterative models are incremental model and RAD model, rapid application development model. So incremental model, whenever you want to deliver in terms of various releases. So in each release, we are trying to adding some new functionalities and quality is enhanced. And comes to RAD, rapid application development. Whenever you want to improve the business, this is purely depends on the business. In RAD model, will focus on business. That's why we can call it as also business process modeling. So when we will use this iterative process models, whenever the system is planned in n releases, not a single, comes to waterfall model will deliver the final system. But comes to iterative models, incremental or RAD will always releases the product in terms of n releases, not a single release consists of final system. In every release, will add some changes. So whenever you plan the system delivery in n releases, you can use this iterative models. And whenever requirements are not defined completely, that's what I told you. In each release, will enhance the quality. Nothing but adding some changes. Why change? Whenever the requirements are not defined completely, we'll prefer change. So we'll focus on the primary requirements. We will implement them first and release to the market. Later we'll add the secondary set of requirements in second release. In third release, the next set of important requirements. So like this way, we'll plan and releases iterative models. And comes to third category, evolutionary model. So the same steps, waterfall model is the base for this evolutionary model. So here, repetition of ADCT, analysis, design, code, and test in linear fashion. In this case, spiral fashion. Repetition of analysis, design, code, and test in spiral fashion. Once the first sphere or cycle is completed, the delivery one. Notice the primary set of requirements are implemented in delivery one and releases, and quality is enhanced in the next releases. So the difference between this and this is here we are performing in linear fashion, here in spiral fashion. That is the only difference? No. It is also having some additional, that additional element. We'll see. So the model is spiral model. Evolutionary model is only one kind of model, that is spiral model. From this we can produce various other models, win-win spiral model. So when we will use this, so same, if you plan and deliveries, whenever if you plan and deliveries, you can prefer the evolutionary model like iterative. But what is the specialty of evolutionary model? The specialty of the evolutionary model is risk analysis. This is the new element is added in development process. In between ADCT, risk analysis is added. So that is nothing but we are trying to identifying the risks at earlier stages and planning the alternate solution for identified risks. That is the advantage of the evolutionary model called spiral model. So this is the major difference. In this evolutionary model, spiral model, a new element is added in development process. That new element is called risk analysis, identifying the risks. That is nothing but early risk resolution, evolutionary model. The next one is prototyping. That is producing a duplicate solution or dummy solution. Steps, producing a dummy solution. The steps are same. Analysis, design, code in a different way. That is quick design, quick analysis, quick implementation, and testing. So it's a paper-based solution. It's a dummy solution, nothing but it's a paper-based solution or duplicate solution. It's not the actual one. If this duplicate or dummy solution is accepted by the client, then we'll go to the actual development. So the steps are quick design, quick evaluation, and when we'll use whenever the client is not able to define the requirements completely. If the client or customer is not able to define the complete set of requirements, then we will use this prototyping model. These are the various software process models are existed. So now we'll see particularly SDLC, that is waterfall model, software development life cycle. So these are the major steps of software development life cycle: analysis, design, code, and test. So what happens in these steps, we'll see. So comes to the first one, analysis. So in this case, we'll perform some study called feasibility study. So what is happening in this feasibility study? We'll try to know what is the existing system. Is there any existing solution is available? Not 100%. Similar kind of solution. Some similar kind of solution is existed. And what is the proposed one? And what are the differences between the proposed one and the existing one? So that we will define in feasibility study. Then requirements analysis. So we'll collect the requirements, the complete set of requirements from the client. So here we have functional requirements, non-functional requirements, system requirements, user requirements, various requirements, and then user analysis. So finally, who will get benefits from this system? Who can use this system? So we need to identify the various user profiles. So that we will do in analysis stage. In feasibility study, what is the proposed system? what is the existing similar solution is available or not, what are the major differences between these two, proposed and existing, that we will do in feasibility study. Requirements. So what is the scope, that is what are the features or functions we are providing, what are the various hardware components and software components are required to develop the solution, users, the actors and systems, who will get benefits from the system, who will use the system, like this way. We'll collect the data in analysis process. Then second, after collecting all this information in analysis, we'll continue the process design. So in design, we'll perform system design and program design. So what means system design and what is program design? So system design is nothing but the complete system, the complete. So that is the complete problem and all its internal components called programs, individual programs and the whole architecture of the system. So that is to design the whole architecture of the system, we have use case diagrams, data flow diagrams, and various architecture styles, data centered architecture, collar data architectures, vertical partition, horizontal partition, like this, various architecture styles, system design. To design the whole system, we will use this diagram. Similarly, the individual programs which are part of software or system, the various program. To design this, we have UML, Unified Modeling Language. So this UML defines various diagrams, use case diagram, sequence diagram, ER diagrams, component diagrams, deployment diagrams, collaboration, like this. So these are used to design the individual programs which are part of software or system. That is converting whatever we analyzed here, the textual statements are converting into pictorial representations. Once the design is accepted by the client or approved by the customer, then we'll move to the coding part. What happens in coding part? Implementing the whole system. How will you implementing the individual programs called modules and submodules. So we'll implement system, modules, submodule. So what is system? Collection of modules. What is module? Collection of submodules. That is top-down approach or bottom-up approach. Implementing, that is converting into the machine readable formats. Whatever is designed, that is mapped into machine readable formats in terms of the whole system and the various dependent and independent modules and various dependent and independent submodules implementation. That is converting into machine readable formats. Once that is converted, will test whether it is producing the expected end results or not. How will it test? Many ways. So we'll perform unit test, because testing a piece of code will start with the lower level. Testing all the lower level elements will use unit test. Then integration test, that is integrating one or more modules and testing, integration test. So load test. So we'll test the application by giving normal quantity of inputs. Load test. How it is responding for every input. Stress test. So here we'll provide abnormal quantity of inputs. So in case of load test, we'll give normal quantity of inputs. In case of stress, we'll give abnormal quantity of inputs, and how it is responding will test. Stress test, performance test. So in this case, we'll check how it is responding for every input and whether it is producing the expected end results within the specified time period or not. That we will test in performance test. And in case of integration test, so here we will add one element with other element, that is one unit with another unit. So when we integrate two units, it generates third unit, third dimension. Testing the third dimension is what called regression testing. When one dimension is integrated with another dimension, a third dimension is produced. Testing the third dimension is what called regression testing. So that is nothing but if you take the Gmail application, what is the first input? User ID is tested internally. What is the second input? Password. It is tested internally. That is, the constraints are satisfied or not. And the third, these two are verified when you click on submit button. Both are matching or not. Third input is generated. Testing the third input is what called regression testing. Third dimension. And finally, system test. So that is combining all this. Testing the final system is what called system test. So I defined here briefly. So if you take each one, the unit test, integration test, system test will take a 1 hour class. So I defined very briefly unit testing, integration testing, system testing, load testing, stress testing, performance testing. So like this way, various testing techniques are there. White box, black box, various testing techniques are there. Using those testing techniques, will test the final system or the various releases. If it meets the user needs, will deliver. So this is about SDLC. Why we are giving the importance to this SDLC? Why it is very important SDLC. So any computer science professional face this question: what is SDLC? Do you have knowledge on SDLC? Like this, at least one time, the computer science student or professional faced this question: what is SDLC? What happens in SDLC? Why SDLC attain this much importance? Is it so hard to succeed? Why it is very important? We'll see. I will show you some pictures. So this is the problem and the expected solution. The management is requesting the solution. The cradle like this on a tree. This is the solution is expected by the developers, testing team, or the development team. From the development team, the management is requesting the solution like this: the cradle on a tree. But it is specified in the project request like this. Is it completely defined? No. But we started the development without defining completely. We started the development. So what happens? Finally, it will be rejected. We'll see. But it is designed by the senior analyst like this. It is expected from the development team. Like this way, it is defined. It is designed by the senior analyst like this. It is developed or produced by the programs like this, the cradle on the tree. Finally, it is deployed like this. Can you expect this? But what is the end user expectation? This is the end user expectation. The user is expecting the solution like this, like this cradle. Management is specified like this, analyst defined like this, designer designed like this, developer developed like this, and finally installed like this. But the user is expecting like this. Why this is happening? Because of multiple views of problem. So this is a problem, latest problem. So here I am having a problem. How a customer will view this problem? A database administrator, a marketing person, a manager. This is the problem is given. This problem is given. A picture. What you can see from this picture? So you can find multiple things in this picture, multiple problem viewpoints. As a customer, I can see something. As a database administrator, I can see something. As a marketing person, I can see. As a manager, I can see. So, but this picture contains two woman faces. So I will show you that two woman faces. If I close this part, you can able to see the diagonal view of young lady. The diagonal view of young lady. This is the same picture. If I close that part, I can see the side view of an old woman. An old woman. What happens here? I am giving the same problem to all these people: customer, database administrator, marketing manager. Assume the case, whoever are involved in the development process. Are these people are trying to identifying the same kind of information? No, it's not possible. Always. That's what multiple problem viewpoints, because here customer is having his or her own perspective. The customer will see in one aspect, manager will see one aspect, marketing person will see one aspect, database, and like this way different people are involving in development. All people have some expectation on this problem solution. Will you implement all this? Is it accepted by the client? Definitely no. So that's why we need to follow a software process model, that is SDLC, software development life cycle, a systematic process model. Then you will achieve the expected end results. Expected end results. So this is about SDLC, software development life cycle. Thank you.